Hi, this is Stephen Mead, lifelong entrepreneur, business owner, and global speaker. Over the years, I've read hundreds of books and spent thousands of hours developing what I call the bullseye belief system. And I've used that system to develop my own companies, as well as help others learn to be specific, targeted, and focused to get exactly what they want in life. Again, I'm Stephen Mead, and this is the Bullseye Guy Podcast. Stephen Mead here again with the Bullseye Guy Podcast, coming to you from the lovely studios of Groove Radio in downtown Los Angeles. Man, DTLA, downtown Los Angeles, is just exploding. If you guys haven't been here, you really should. But we need more conferences. We need more global conferences. We need more thought leader conferences. I think LA's really behind the scenes on that. And that sort of is going to transition us into, I'm fortunate today I've got Oliver with us, who is the COO of Sigma. And I'll introduce Oliver. I'll let him tell you what Sigma is. But we've been dealing with a lot out of Malta and some of the groups out of there. And Malta's got some amazing things going on in terms of technology and positioning themselves as a global epicenter. And Sigma's really been at the forefront of that. So quick introduction to Oliver. We've got him on Skype. He's, I believe, in the States. He's usually traveling all over the world. I think he's coming to us from Vegas. So quick introduction, Oliver. Say hi to everybody and give us a little background.
Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm Steve. I'm actually based in Vegas just for a few days. I actually got in Saturday night. Just a bit about myself. I've been in the gaming industry for some time. Actually began in about 2005. Back then, I was building teams through recruitment firms. Gaming was pretty new, and it was the start of something that a lot of us believed in. I transitioned between the industry, actually working as a trader and just building up as much experience as I can, also working with affiliates. And then in 2017, I met with Iman, who's our founder. They had a lot going on, only a small team building very, very big shows. And we just hit it off from when we met up. Funny story, I wasn't even in the events industry. I actually just met up with Iman at a dinner, and I gave some suggestions. And then he just turned to me and went, I think you can run this team. And, you know, it all started growing from there. So that's how I became the group CEO. And we've been on a very wild ride since. Sigma started from a very small one-man operation, growing now to about 50 persons with offices in Malta and Manila, and then we have our small satellite bases in the Ukraine, development team in India. I think we're just setting up in Armenia. We've got correspondents pretty much around the world now with ambassadors in every major gaming or blockchain location. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm just looking forward to seeing where we're going to end up.
Perfect. So let's back up, Oliver. For the people that don't understand, I want two definitions. One, what does Sigma stand for? And two, define gaming, because I understand what gaming is on Malta and what Malta really was at the forefront of. But somebody might hear gaming and it's such a broad term. It's like saying, e-commerce or swimming. So give us what Sigma stands for, and then talk a little bit about why gaming was an important transition, because Malta played a leading role in sort of the online gambling and gaming space.
Super. Okay. So just to run in on that, what the gaming industry is actually about in Malta. When we say gaming, we mean iGaming, which is generally gambling online. So it's online poker, casino. You've got sports book in there, and now in more recent years, the introduction of esports. So, the ability to gamble on video game-based competitions. So that's the area of iGaming, and that's the area that Sigma operate in. Sigma as a brand, it's not just a word; it actually stood or stands for
Right.
the Summit of iGaming Malta. So that's what the acronym is over there.
Yeah, the original Sigma has been, I think, if I understand right, probably 7 or 8 years now, and had really, the Sigma event, which is part of the whole organization, had really grown into the world's premier gaming event. I mean, 8,000 people, 6, 7, 8 years running now. Talk a little bit about that, and then let's talk about what you're transitioning into as some of the newer movements for the Sigma group.
Okay, super. So, yeah, as you said, Sigma's been around 14, and what we started as was a very small get together of individuals in the iGaming industry looking to network. The intention there was Malta was quickly becoming this global hub of online gaming companies, and there were no shows geared around building, let's say, B2B events, networking dinners. And Iman, coming from an events background himself, he saw a hole in the market and decided to jump on it. I mean, as you said, today it's a premier event. A lot of people back then didn't believe it would grow to what it's become now. This year, we're anticipating about 15,000 people, and we've actually come to a point where we're looking for more space. Malta's an amazing place to do business, but we feel like we're outgrowing the fishbowl a little bit. So instead of making a larger show in Malta, we're kind of spanning out into different areas, creating not satellite events, because the one coming up in Manila is actually to scale larger than the Malta show. But we're looking to expand, and the idea there is to create what we wanted to do in Malta, the B2B networking event, but at a global level, create bridges between Manila and Malta. We're trying to do that out here in the US as well. So Sigma began with the intention of becoming the premier iGaming conference event, but we've transitioned into other areas, as you're aware, and we've decided to take that influence and that reputation a step further to get involved in what we would feel are disruptor or niche markets that are really changing the future. There is a great coalition between the iGaming market and blockchain, as blockchain technology actually does play now a major role in iGaming and is helping to evolve this market. But outside of gaming, obviously, blockchain and crypto is a standalone industry, and Malta taking the same steps as we did for gaming, building a regulatory framework around these sectors. We thought, let's ride that wave and build a show around that as well. And it turned out to be very successful. We had an amazing first year. Our very first show attracted over 9,000 people. We had some major names join us for that in Malta, including parts of the Abu Dhabi royal family. We had John McAfee join us, the Winklevoss brothers, and major names from throughout the crypto industry. So it seems like this major organic transition has happened from gaming now to blockchain. And as I said before, we love our disruptor market. So our next target is the medical cannabis industry, which too attracts a lot of disruptor or niche investors. And we actually take advantage of that, the fact that the investors we work with or those that attend our show very much transition across those three verticals. So it creates a lot of value for businesses, especially those startups and innovative ideas who come to our show looking for assistance, looking for seed funding, looking for first, second, and third round, have such a strong pool of investors to actually discuss with. So what we've done is managed to create this global network in three industries. We believe at first glance you don't see the link, but once you dive in, there are some incredible links between the three, blockchain being the medium. Obviously, gaming and cannabis, not so much, but we've managed to create a massive global network around that. And we bring these people together in Malta in November. So we do our three verticals all in the month of November, but we've also got other shows, our satellite events that we call our road show that happen all over the world. Hence why I travel on a every other week basis, and a mega show coming up actually in Manila.
Oh,
really
the Manila one, yeah.
Yeah. So the Manila show is actually it's our first shot at the Asian market. We've done some small satellite events where they're normally about 200 to 300 people, and they are mini versions of what we do at Sigma. So it's a mini, not so much an expo, but a gathering where we bring together sponsoring normally suppliers or operators who are looking for affiliates who assist with their online traffic, and when we bring them together in small groups. So when we saw the success we had in 18 in Asia were focused on these mini events, we said, we need to go big. So we tried it again in earlier this year, and it was really successful. And then we said, okay, it's time for a large expo out there, which is already looking really, really good. We're actually going to be co-locating on that one with Clarion, who's another big name within the gaming events industry. And I think this is going to be the super show of the year for sure.
Yeah, perfect. It's funny you said something early on about you've outgrown Malta. We're just on Malta. We'll be back again in November for your AIBC event. But the island itself, 19 miles, 19 by 9. It's not a very big island. And for you to get 7, 10, 15,000 people to show up on an island in the middle of the Mediterranean is really an amazing accomplishment. And what I found fascinating with Malta, I've worked with them. I wish they wouldn't call it Blockchain Island. I want it to be Innovation Island. I think Innovation Island will serve them for the next 100 or 200 or 300 years. And part of that, just like you said, Oliver, blockchain to me is more of an underpinning of different industries. You know, so let's talk about this for a minute, because I think it's a fascinating transition you guys have done. And just like you said, not everybody sees the linkage. I do. So Malta, when we were looking at it, we looked globally at where to position the company. Malta was really at the forefront of the gambling and gaming, just like you were talking about. So they created rules and restrictions and regulations. And, you know, I like to call it, just like I think you did, it's a framework of innovation. I don't like to call it regulation. It's a framework of innovation, and says, hey, if you play in this framework, you've got some rules and you know you're trying to do it. And to Malta's credit, they were at the front edge of that in the world. To their detriment, they made some mistakes, but not in a nefarious way. It's just when you're at the edge, you tend to make some mistakes. And that's what's fascinated me with Malta's move into blockchain, and even Sigma's move is with the new regulations around blockchain, primarily around crypto tokens and things. Malta said, hey, we are the only country that's tried this before with gaming. Now we're going to create a framework around this new industry of blockchain. And I think the cannabis side coming in as well. Malta's well positioned because they're a government that's tried things before. So not only have they done it, they can learn from their mistakes. And where Sigma's been positioned, you briefly alluded to it, Oliver, but really you guys have 3 tracks, right? So you've got gaming, blockchain, AI, and medical cannabis. What do you see as the distinction between the 3? How do you see your group growing to kind of serve each of those 3 areas? Because in some sense, blockchain will overlap into cannabis in supply chain. It'll overlap into gaming with tracking. But where do you guys as a group see the global opportunity in those 3 lanes?
So as a group, as I said with gaming is becoming more mainstream. So the iGaming market, where it once used to operate in very niche zones, has become a global thing. I mean, if you look at the size of the Asian market, how many countries are now coming out or working on regulation? You have the same applying within blockchain and a very rapidly moving cannabis market. So as a group, we're looking at countries, and we'll use Malta as an example for this, that open their arms to these disruptor or niche markets. Now, Malta is really good and versatile when it comes to saying, wow, that's an interesting market. Let's try this out. Because obviously Malta doesn't have a lot of resources in regards to actually physical resources. We're pretty much a services-based island with very good tourism. So obviously the government was thinking, how do we attract, global entrepreneurs, investors in innovation? So by regulating these disruptor niche or new markets, they created a home for these companies, and many of which, have been in Malta for the good part of 20 years. And there's an evolution happening over there. So Sigma as a group, we thought we're going to just ride the gaming wave once upon a time. But when blockchain came through, there were so many links between those markets. And you mentioned it earlier, the things that blockchain can apply to is where we come in and we start discussing it. So it's not just about putting an event together, to get the sponsors, for people to meet each other. It's also to become thought leaders. Like within our events, we're always looking for the disruptors, the game changers, the innovators, the new ideas. So part of our culture, for one part, is we love startup businesses. We actually have this what we call a startup pitch, and anyone applying for a presence at Sigma or even any of the other two events who has a new company, a new idea, we will provide them with a free presence at the show. It's a small booth, somewhere they can meet people and network. And why we do this is because we believe these companies will grow with us within the industry. So startups and innovation is a very big part of Sigma, combined with thought leadership, what technologies are changing the industry. So where we're going is, when you look at these markets that are changing rapidly, they're operating in zones that have a tendency to open their arms to change, you end up some amazing innovation. I was actually having a chat with Iman about this a while back. We always have the year of in gaming, and every year something seems to change a little bit.
Yeah.
And we had the year, originally it was poker. That was the big thing online, and then it went to sportsbook. And I remember a time where people weren't even sure casino online was going to pick up, and now it's majority revenues coming from casino. That was reigning for the past 4 years. And now we're looking at a whole new market coming through, which I actually put an article out just recently. The hyper casual gaming apps, or the dApps, creating massive revenues through blockchain based dApps. And they're actually incredible programs, very, very simple betting mechanisms. You've got one called Moon, which is pretty much looks like a stock market graph. And it's like you put your money in and you got to pull it out before the market crashes, and it's completely random number generated based on the blockchain. So people have a tendency to trust the further than normally the in-house developed games. And I know dApps, I mean, these dApps are running total about $400 million a day, and 60% of it are gambling dApps. So if you look at that, is now where the market is going. We want to shine a light on these ideas. This is what Sigma is about. And then companies who are doing it, we love to give them a present at the show. We put them on stage and then we discuss it. This applies to crypto and blockchain, and it also applies to cannabis. Obviously, each market has their own form of disruptors or new ideas. Gaming has become more mainstream, so the products are more known. But looking at blockchain, you can apply this technology to anything. I mean, the key word that follows the term blockchain is trust. The reason why people within the gaming and cannabis industry love this technology is because, you have this concept of product origin in many industries, especially in the food industry. So if you're entering the cannabis market, where you have a lot of regulations coming out, you can literally use blockchain technology to monitor the product from seed to sale. So
Right.
the blockchain would be able to track the origin, the distribution, and you would have this information, at the tip of your finger. And this is where blockchain goes into cannabis. And then obviously there's as you said, supply chain and logistics can really help. And then on the gaming side, it really keys into KYC and verification processes, because again, the word here is trust. And now it's evolving into actually betting tools. So it's that technology is just going to grow within every sector, because it adds a value that other technology can't. It is, or I might be overstating, but incorruptible as a technology. Doesn't mean your wallet can't get hacked one day. It just means that you can't actually falsify the data that's on the blockchain. That's the incredible thing about it. So where Sigma comes in is, we're looking to shine a light on that technology. We're looking to shine a light on geos that are adopting this technology, the regulations that come with it. So we love to discuss, the rules and regulations about a zone. Many people fly around the world with us. We have a dinner happening here in Vegas tomorrow evening, and that's going to be a lot of people flying from as far as Europe to join, to meet with the movers and shakers of this industry. But there's so much happening and so much interest on an international level, and we just want to get in the middle of it all and host as much of it as we can. So this is the culture of the organization. The actual target is obviously to keep growing, to keep adopting disruptor industries, As much as we love our three verticals, we're probably going to be adopting more in the next couple of years. But as it goes right now, we're just looking to get a good foundation on our newer verticals. Let's say that.
Okay.
But it's an amazing ride. I'm actually really impressed
Yeah.
myself, and I'm always asking myself, like, I walked into this office not knowing what to expect, and now I'm in a different continent every other week. Tiring but fun.
Yeah, you guys, you and Ima, and I mean the whole group just travels fantastically. I'm going to give an actual example here because if you're in the space in the industry, you'll follow a lot of what Oliver said. We tend to have people that are interested but don't always understand. So let's break down a couple things Oliver said. Put it together. Medical cannabis. It's interesting. Sigma focused on medical cannabis and not cannabis. I'm a big proponent of being targeted and focused. That's a big industry. And I'm going to give an example of why blockchain is important to cannabis. I'm not in the space. I actually joke. I tried to figure out cannabis. I was joking that green is the next green, but I've never smoked. So I couldn't get my head around where it worked. But I was with a friend of mine, and here's a good story for you, Oliver, where it works. A friend of mine's one of the biggest sellers of medical cannabis. And the specifics with medical cannabis, it had to be, and again, I'm making the numbers up, 99.99% pure. In order to be medical grade, it had to be tested. And he was looking at blockchain for seed to store and all of that. But we realized the value proposition for blockchain and AI. This is where the AI component comes in, and actually IoT. I know you guys have done some Internet of Things. He had a particular problem with some of his product on the shelves coming in at 99.2%. It was some grade below where it needed to be, and they couldn't figure out where. And what we talked about was the blockchain would have said, here's where all the components and touch points are. What it was is the guy that claimed he was cleaning the machines. These machines were supposed to be cleaned every 3 hours. Kind of like when you walk in a restroom and a guy writes on the wall that he cleaned the restroom every hour, but he didn't really do it. And that what they ended up having to do was tie in an Internet of Things. They tied in a device to the machine to prove that the machine was actually turned on and run every 3 hours, because their point of failure for that medical was tied in between the Internet of Things, the blockchain. You know, there's so many fascinating things that are coming out. And what I appreciate about Sigma is you guys are at the front edge of things that are just like you were at the front edge of gaming before gaming was popular. Now it's big and popular. Blockchain, you started a couple years ago. Now you're into the cannabis side, and you focus on new technology, but really not only highlighting them. Sigma as a group with Iman and everybody does a good job. Just like you said, we're fortunate. We attend some of the dinners. It's as much a community and a showcase as it is an actual event and show. You know, so I want to give you guys kudos for that. And if you can talk about kind of the ethos of Sigma, where you see it going in the next year or two, because I know you're on an expansion side. So let's talk about the expansion, and let's talk about November. The timing for this, November's coming up with the AIBC. Let's invert it, Oliver. Let's talk first about AIBC. It's coming up in November in Malta, which is the AI and blockchain event. You also have the medical cannabis. So that week you have everything coming up. First week in November, if somebody's not going and wants to, the timing of this podcast, they'll still be able to learn about it. So let's talk a little bit about that coming up in November, and then sort of where you see the direction of Sigma as a group going.
Super. So just to give you a heads up, I mean, what we've done is, because, as I said earlier, as a culture, we believe in synergies of industries. And what we did there was we decided to link in medical cannabis with our AIBC show. And the reason being is, as I said, our ethos is supporting young businesses. And we thought, because we have such a strong pool of investors that attend our AIBC show, if we kept the shows close together, people would come out to Malta for 1 week and they would do both shows. Yeah. You'd look at businesses that are flourishing on both sides. You'd look at companies that can actually make the link, as you just mentioned earlier. The link between blockchain and cannabis or medical cannabis is very, very clear right now. So we decided to make it easier for those attending. And instead of having to fly to Malta twice, we said, okay, let's do our Malta week. Let's have everything happen, at the same time. It's an absolute nightmare on my team. I can tell you they all hate me at the moment. But it's a really good opportunity for people to come out and really learn, across the board what Malta is achieving in these industries. But it's not just about Malta. It's also about, the innovators, the business ideas. So as an ethos, we are there not just to put a show together, but to build community. I'll tell you something. The majority of good business ideas, they don't come from a boardroom. They come from having a beer at a bar, sitting in a pool, which I know of other businesses having, come out from these community or social events. And this is why we want to be not only in the heart of it, but creating community. So when we create our Malta week, it's not just about, the medical cannabis and the blockchain side. It's about bringing everyone together. And it's going to be a really, really interesting run. We've got a lot of companies flying in, talking about where different markets are growing. I'm sure you've been made aware that the Southeast Asian market has suddenly and very quickly adopted the medical cannabis market. You've got a huge market here in North America. So what we're there to do is say, look, Malta's regulating. It's a great place to do business, but it's not just, again, about regulations. It's about business opportunities. It's about growth. It's about change. And these industries, they have a tendency to apply change.
Yep.
So that's what we talk about during the show. And AIBC is going to be great because this year we've got a mega focus also on social impact, which I think is one of the key factors that goes above and beyond. I don't even know if people were thinking about this when this technology was coming up, but I've met some unbelievable ideas. I was in Bangkok a couple of months ago, and I met these guys who put together this chatbot that uses an AI. It's a machine learning tool that actually monitors people's chat behavior and assesses depression levels. And they have 150,000 users on it. And I thought, wow, this is a technology, that does good. We're using these technologies for good change. So it's not just about the business. This is what our ethos is about, is looking at all the ancillaries, We've actually partnered up this year with Acon, who's got his Acoin, and he's got an amazing plan. He'll actually be joining us in Malta.
That's coming up. Let's do that real quick, Oliver. Let's drop in. It's coming up. So it's November 6th through 10th, 2019. Yeah. November 6th through 10. Yeah.
7 and 8 is the AIBC. 6 we have the opening. So 7 and 8 is AIBC. 4th and 5th is the medical cannabis. So it's that week. It's the week of the 4th to the 8th.
Yeah, 4th and 5th. So the Monday, Tuesday is the medical. Wednesday's kind of an open transition day. Thursday, Friday is the blockchain AI. And what's the website for that one again?
We have two. You've got the Malta Blockchain Summit.
Malta Blockchain Summit.
Yeah, and then cannabizsummit.world.
Cannabizsummit.world. And is there, I go through the different sites with you guys, with Iman and Chris and everybody. What's the Sigma site? Is there there's a global Sigma site as well that encompasses all of this, isn't there? Or no?
Yes. So the main Sigma site is the original domain. It's actually sigma.com.mt.
There we go.
That's the original domain. But if you go on any of the three sites, we love to interlink them.
Perfect. All right. So we've got that set up. Here's what we're going to close with. This has been great, Oliver. I really appreciate it. I wanted to get a ton of information out to help you guys on a global expansion, because I think what you're doing is amazing. And want to close with this. I think we sent you a note. We like to end these podcasts with a little fun fact, something, kind of personal and fun. And I know you sent us something about communicating and traveling the world, but just in closing on you, what's a little fun fact, something, short and interesting that somebody may not know about you?
Well, mostly the people who travel with me probably know this, that I pretty much live on a plane, and I am terrible at flying. I mean, Xanax the whole lot. This is where CBD is probably really going to help me. So it's quite amusing to watch me stress out on a monthly basis when it comes to travel time.
Perfect. Yeah, my joke is I travel a lot, and people say, "Oh, you get to travel. I love traveling." I say, "No, you love vacationing." Travel and vacation is drastically different. So, All right, we're gonna let you get back to work there in Vegas. Have fun at the dinner. I'm sorry I'm missing out on it, but I will be at the VIP dinner with all of you in Malta coming up in November. Super excited about that. Oliver, appreciate your time. Sigma.com.mt is the global site, the World Blockchain, the Malta Summit. Everything's coming up. Hope you guys can track it down. Hope you can make it. Look forward to everything. Closing out real quick, this is Stephen Mead, the Bullseye Guy. Thank you for joining. As always, check back. We're at the Groove radio stations, downtown LA. If you haven't been down here, the studio setup's amazing. You have to check with me and try and make it down. But everybody tune in next week. Again, Stephen Mead, thebullseyeguy.com.